Hey guys, I'm Amy May, and if you're new here then welcome, it's lovely to meet you. I promise you won't regret checking me out, and if you're not new then thank you very much for staying loyal. Today we're going to do part 2 of the Eli Lilly Zyprexa scandal. Now I do need to apologise because basically I can't find the cable for my microphone, so the audio might be a bit off. But today we're going to do part 2, Eli Lilly, the Zyprexa files. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll link it in the description, I'll put a link on screen. Basically, Zyprexa, or olanzapine, is an antipsychotic medication that was approved by the FDA in 1998 for use in schizophrenia and to treat other psychotic illnesses. Part 1 covered how Eli Lilly basically tried to flog it for everything going, specifically targeting elderly people, and tried to pretend that it was used as a treatment for dementia and dementia-related symptoms. And if that wasn't bad enough, Eli Lilly also concealed side effects that they had plenty of evidence of, they just hid it from everyone. For example, the link between Zyprexa and hyperglycemia and developing diabetes and other such metabolic dysfunctions. They knew as early as 1998 about this, and they kept quiet. When it all started kicking off, leaks documents from Eli Lilly, including emails, meeting notes, loads of internal Eli Lilly documents, they proved that Eli Lilly knew about the link between Zyprexa and metabolic dysfunction as early as 1998, and whilst they were trying to flog it, they hid that even from the doctors they were trying to flog it to. So they kept stum. They had plenty of evidence, but they knew it would hurt their profits, so they didn't tell a soul. And it wasn't until 2007, when the scandal was already well underway and they couldn't backtrack any further, that Eli Lilly finally updated the warning label on Zyprexa, or olanzapine, to include risk of metabolic side effects and hyperglycemia, nearly 10 years after it was first launched. Internal documents from Eli Lilly show that in 1999, they coached their sales representatives to not mention the issue of metabolic dysfunction, diabetes link, unless doctors brought it up themselves in their sales pitches. A presentation given to Eli Lilly's salespeople said, "Do not introduce the issue, be prepared for the issue and related concerns, no flinch factor." In that same year, Dr. Alan Breer, who was then chief scientist on the Zyprexa project, olanzapine-associated weight gain and possible hyperglycemia is a major threat to the long-term success of this critically important molecule. Leaked emails show that in November 1999, Dr. Breer formed an executive steering committee for olanzapine-associated weight changes and hyperglycemia. And they're going to sit there and act like they didn't know. In the year 2000, Eli Lilly received advice from diabetes doctors who they retained as consultants, stating, "Unless we come clean on this, it could become much more serious than we might anticipate." And in 2002, Eli Lilly rejected proposals that their sales representatives give advice to doctors on the management and treatment of diabetes and how to identify it, as they felt that that would tarnish Zyprexa's reputation and further build association between Zyprexa and diabetes. And this was after surveys conducted by Eli Lilly's marketing department found that around 70% of psychiatrists polled had seen at least one of their patients develop high blood sugar, hyperglycemia, or diabetes whilst taking Zyprexa, in comparison to around 20% of psychiatrists polled whose patients were using other antipsychotics, namely quetiapine and risperidone. So Eli Lilly clearly didn't fancy disclosing that. They thought, "Oh, do you know what, actually, we'll just forget about that, don't worry about it, mate, we'll just pretend that study never happened." And it's important to note that I'll say olanzapine because that's what us doctors call it in the UK, whereas in America I think they tend to prescribe sort of based on brand names more. Anyway, big pharma, but anyway, right. So it's important to note that the BNF, the British National Formulary, which is what in the UK we consult to sort of, it tells you drugs, their indications, their side effects, their cautions, contraindications, hyperglycemia, metabolic dysfunction, increase in prolactin level, that is something that is documented and well known. That is something that if you're going to prescribe it, you do know about, sort of thing. And obviously this was 1998 when it was first launched, but it's been known for a while, and it's not exactly a secret. And Eli Lilly knew about it before, you know what I mean, Ellen Liversidge sued Eli Lilly following the death of her son Rob in 2002. He had been taking Zyprexa for around 2 years, and in that time had gained around 100 pounds and developed severe hyperglycemia, which eventually led to his death. Neither Ellen or her son Rob were aware of these potential side effects, and when she began researching, she found that Japan and the UK had already mandated warning labels be put on olanzapine or Zyprexa, stating the risks of hyperglycemia, death and diabetes. Had those side effects been shared by Eli Lilly instead of hidden, and if patients and the doctors prescribing the Zyprexa were made aware of these potential side effects and what to look for, then they would have been able to educate patients and monitor them for these risks. Rob's death was completely avoidable, and he wasn't the only one. In 2005, Eli Lilly agreed to pay over $750 million to settle lawsuits by over 8,000 people who claimed that after taking Zyprexa, they developed diabetes or other side effects that they weren't aware of. And that's not even all the lawsuits, some of them were still pending at that point. And we need to remember that 2005, the scandal had been underway for years. They only did it because they were forced to. They've been denying for years and years. It's not as if Eli Lilly weren't aware of these side effects or if they hadn't looked into them. They knew very well, and they went to extended efforts to conceal it, which was absolutely disgusting. Before the drug was even launched, more than 16% of Eli Lilly's patients that were taking Zyprexa in clinical trials gained over 66 pounds in 1 year. They knew very well, and they just hid it because that wouldn't bring the big money, that wouldn't bring the bucks in, which is vile. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised because 1, it's big pharma, and 2, it's not the first time that Eli Lilly's done something like this. The Department of Justice announced in 2005 that Eli Lilly had come to a settlement and pled guilty to off-brand marketing or off-label marketing of its osteoporosis drug, Evista. And this was following Evista's first year in which Eli Lilly's profits were only a third of what they were expecting. So again, they just started making stuff up. In October 1998, Eli Lilly reduced the forecast of Evista's first year sales from 401 million to 120 million. And an internal Lilly business plan noted that it was a disappointing year compared to the original forecast. So what did they do? Did they take the L? Did they remain humble? No, of course not. They started lying again. And they started promoting Evista, the drug for osteoporosis, for off-brand stuff, such as reducing the risk of breast cancer and reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease. And this was after they'd already gone to the FDA asking them to approve it for this, and the FDA had said no. So they've got some gumption and gall, shall we say. I could go on. Unfortunately right now, because basically when they did a massive U-turn around 2005, they released a statement on their website. It was awful. But I just tried to go on the website now, and it's like website shut down for maintenance, so I can't actually share that. But if when I'm editing, it's magically not shut down for maintenance, I'll show you what they said about it, because they tried to twist it and make it look like they were the good guys, and it was awful. It was really painful to read, actually. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Big Pharma's Big Pharma. I don't know what more to say on that, to be honest. It's just one of many scandals involving Eli Lilly, and it will be interesting in the future to see what we find out about the lies they're telling about Mounjaro. If any, they could just be giving us the God's honest truth, but it will be interesting to see what they try and market Mounjaro for in the future and whether it is FDA approved or not. I'm Amy May. If you like this video, then don't forget to subscribe. I've got loads of playlists. I've been documenting my journey on YouTube since the beginning, April 2024, and I've lost over £80 using Mounjaro. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.